mean, you're just a god. You're not the god.
To be honest, on certain nights, it could go either way. It could go either way. I have had good moments. Anyway, we should probably tighten this up.
It's the bullshit filter. January 30th, 2026, Ray.
Here's the short version.
Yes.
Everything is going swimmingly. Everything is fine. Nothing to see here. Just carry about on your lives, citizens. Go ahead.
How's your week been going, my little buddy?
Oh, well, actually, let this be the first little mini segue into the bullshit filter. I told you we were, the entire South is expecting a big storm. So I'm watching the forecast, and sometimes it says 2 inches, sometimes it says 21 inches, and Heather's like, who's showing up, you or D'Angelo? That's not the point. I want to move on quickly from that. What it is when Trump first came into office and they had Elon Musk, the Department of Efficiency, whatever it was, complete cock up. But yes. But again, doesn't that feel like it was 10 years ago? Anyway, it turns out, and we just found this out, or this has just been verified because of the storm, that they fired every fourth meteorologist that worked for the government. So the good news is all the data is still coming in about the weather, the satellites, the weather stations. I don't know if they do balloons anymore, but they don't have enough people to analyze it. So I was literally getting forecasts. You're going to get anywhere from 7 to 21 inches. So everybody panics. Everybody buys out the store because they hear the 21 inches. We only get 7. Again, Heather has to deal with disappointment, but
would be happy with 7 inches, really. Would we all?
Anyway, the point is,
I feel like
it's all fucked up. Go ahead.
I had a visit from D'Angelo yesterday.
D'Angelo don't come in easy. Let me tell you that right now. He don't come in easy. What happened, buddy? Talk to me.
Well, I discovered in the worst way possible that my fiber to hydration ratio was out of whack. Yeah. Eating way too much chia seeds, psyllium husk, lentils, protein powder. And apparently the 4 liters of water a day I thought was good.
Right.
Was not enough to stop me from having to spend 90 minutes yesterday trying to work it out. And I took Chrissy to see Annie, the musical, afterwards. Yes. And I said, I feel like I've been anally raped by a large black man in prison. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but...
And he's not there in prison because he's black. I'm surely he committed a crime. Let's get that.
I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah. He might have been visiting. We don't know. The point is you're hurting, and we're here for you. Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you.
Mother Nature, she's a bitch. Let's go ahead.
There's a range of stories I want to talk about today, things that have been forefront of my mind politically over the last month, I guess.
Sure.
It's been a while since we finished the fascism series.
Sure.
I'm going to start with Australia, Ray.
Oh, that's unusual.
It is unusual. There's not usually a lot of news worth talking about in Australia.
Nothing's wrong with that. Yeah.
But on the 14th of December 2025, there was an attack at Bondi Beach, which is honestly not very impressive beach.
Right.
In Sydney. Compared to Queensland beaches, Bondi Beach is shit. But for people living in Sydney, Bondi Beach is iconic. And there was a pre-Hanukkah, Christmas Hanukkah event, some of the members of the Jewish community, and a father and son started shooting at them. It was the first mass shooting in Australia in 30 years. I think 1996 was the last one. That was when, after that, our Conservative Prime Minister at the time, John Howard, brought in the gun legislation. Well, we had gun legislation before, brought in the famous gun legislation, where we banned semi-automatic weapons and various other kinds of guns. There have been, technically, there have been a couple of mass shootings, but since then, 1 or 2, but they're like murder-suicides at a farm or guys taking shots at cops on a farm.
Sure.
That sort of stuff. Not a public mass shooting like is so familiar in your country.
Right.
So it was very shocking for us.
Yeah.
The federal government, so for international listeners, our current federal government is a Labor government that's supposedly on the left, although they're not really a leftist government. They're centrist, run by Anthony Albanese is our Prime Minister, or he's just referred to as Albo here.
Albo. Gotcha.
Albo. Recalled Parliament. Well, usually they're on holiday over summer for a few weeks,
Right.
Christmas, New Year. Recalled them to quickly pass some new anti-Semitism / hate laws.
Right.
There's legislation called Combating Anti-Semitism, Hate and Extremism, Criminal and Migration Laws Act 2026. It was passed on January 20th, 2026. As sort of as a response to this, and they're also trying to further tighten up the gun laws. When you and I did our gun shows, God, how many years ago that was.
Right. Did we solve anything? No, go ahead. Don't answer that.
I think I mentioned in that despite our 1996 gun laws, there were more guns in the hands of Australia then than there were back in 1996. They'd sort of, there have been loopholes, and population has also increased significantly in the last 30 years, but guns had found their way, not semi-automatic weapons. I mean, there are criminal organisations that manage to get their hands on that, but generally speaking, they're still hard to get your hands on here, but rifles and things like that, shotguns.
Sure.
So they're trying to do something about that, but there's been a lot of angst and human rights groups pushing back against this new legislation. I just wanted to touch on it, get my head around it.
Right.
So unpacking this is interesting. So the two guys that were responsible for the attack, allegedly, one survived, one didn't.
Right, the son.
Did you see any of the footage of the attack?
No,
Did it make its way into your part of the world?
I honestly can't answer that. I can't watch stuff like that because it messes with me. So whenever I know that there's about to be, Hollywood I can do, but the real stuff, it's too much for me. But I do know that it was a father and son. The father was killed and the son is still alive. That's the extent of what I know.
Yeah. Father and son, they were apparently Muslims who had come here and been here for a while, but they were targeting a Jewish festival.
Right.
Now, there had been quite a lot of protests in Australia over the last couple of years about the situation in Gaza. Our federal government had been starting to push back on Israel in that regard and had been starting to use the G word and had been arguing for not only an end to the genocide and the violence against the Gazans, but also, a two-state solution and all those sorts of things.
Right.
Not very strongly, not very hard,
Sure.
just gently going, okay, maybe enough's enough now.
Exactly.
50,000 civilians dead. Maybe it's time to say we probably shouldn't do that.
Right.
So, of course, there was a bit of a backlash against the government, and there's been this narrative that's being constructed by the right wing and I assume the Jewish lobby here, that the government was somehow responsible for this, and that people who are protesting what's been happening in Gaza are somehow responsible for this. My take on it is, look, you're going to have crazy people do crazy things all the time. I am firmly in the camp that what Israel has been doing in Gaza, post October 7th, but well before that as well, is unconscionable.
Right.
It is an apartheid state. We've done lots of shows about this. Israel's whole occupation of that area, violent occupation of Gaza and West Bank, is immoral and unethical, and their treatment of the Palestinians has been horrendous, going right back to the 1950s. But that doesn't justify a mass shooting of Australian Jewish people at all. It's obviously not their responsibility, even though they may support it, etc., etc. But this is, that's got nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
There's no justification for shooting. I don't think there's a connection between calling what Israel's doing genocide, which is factual, and say that the treatment of people in that area is immoral and unethical, again, which is factual. There's no connection between that and a mass shooting event. If people decide to go and commit a hate crime, then they're doing that for their own reasons, not because people have been criticizing Israel.
Right.
But the government obviously felt compelled that they had to do something symbolic here to partly satisfy the Jewish community and people on the right wing, Murdoch, driven right wing media,
Sure.
to be seen to be doing something. Of course, it rarely works. Then they get criticized for trying to push it through too quickly. There was an opportunity for it to be debated in society. People are saying it's not enough. Some people are saying it's overstepping the boundaries. But just to give you a quick idea of some of the things that they've added to this, it allows the government to list organizations as prohibited hate groups, similar to terrorist listings. A group can be listed if it engages in, prepares for, or advocates for hate crimes based on race, national, or ethnic origin. Once listed, it's a criminal offence to be a member of one of those organisations. You're facing up to 7 years jail.
Wow.
Or to recruit for one of those organisations, or to provide support or funding for one of those organisations. I think in those cases you can get up to 15 years in jail. The government specifically named the neo-Nazi Nationalist Socialist Network and the Islamist group Hizb ut-Tahrir as primary targets. Now, there has been, like in your country, there has been a startling and disappointing rise in neo-Nazi groups here.
Yes.
And, I think the vast majority of Australians are more than happy to see those people who are part of those groups shut down and prevented access to anything. I mean, look, I am a major advocate, as you know, we've talked about it over the years, for free speech. I think we should, I'm not a fan of censorship. I am a fan of free speech. But as we talked about this during COVID, we don't live in a completely free society. There's a social construct, there's a social agreement. If you're going to live together, we have to have boundaries. We have to have lines about what we can and can't do, what we can and can't say.
Yeah.
That's always been the case. There's no such thing as complete freedom if you choose to live in a society with other people.
Right.
Where those lines are, where those boundaries are, is a matter of debate, and I think it's healthy to have that debate. That said, I think the vast majority of Australians are happy to say, Nazis and Islamic fundamentalists advocating for, hate crimes or any sort of violence about race, national, or ethnic origin should be curtailed.
Right.
Don't have a problem with that. There are also new lines in the legislation about aggravated offences for hate preachers, religious, spiritual, or communal leaders using influence to advocate for or threaten violence. They face 10 to 12 years in prison if promoting violence during religious instruction or pastoral care.
Here we go.
I don't have a problem with that either, really.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for most Australians, there's also some stuff about how the government can assign or outlaw these groups without giving them a chance to respond. There's not a lot of procedural fairness or checks and balances here.
Right.
They're basically, if they hear about something is going on, they can step in and shut it down.
Yeah.
And there's specifically some anti-Semitic stuff in this. There is a line in one of the notes. Anti-Semitic statements are an example of statements that involve harmful ideas based on hatred or on the basis of ethnic origin. So a lot of people I'm seeing on TikTok and Reddit are upset about the fact that this may be designed to curtail any criticism of Israel in Australia. And whilst I'm sure that is part of what's going on, I want to point out that the legislation is specifically, as far as I understand it, I had a read of it over the last week, is specifically related to migrants to Australia. Okay. So it doesn't apply to Australian citizens, this stuff. Right. So the anti-Semitic section in particular, Section 5C, 1A, D, Note I, a person fails the character test if they disseminate ideas based on superiority or hatred of others based on ethnic origin. All of that kind of stuff is specifically targeting, let me see if I can find my note here, non-citizens.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the actual line. No, I don't have the line in my notes. But it targets non-citizens spreading this kind of stuff. So if you're a citizen of Australia, it doesn't really apply to you, to the best of my knowledge. So I don't think, my bottom line is, I don't think this is going to prevent protests by citizens against the actions of Israel. But we'll see how it plays out. I mean, it may be an overreach, but we hear about this all the time. Like when, I remember when government was preventing people from moving into states during COVID and were curtailing protests during COVID and all those sorts of things. There was a huge uproar here about, this is the slippery slope. Once they put these legislations into place, they never go backwards. And this is the beginning of, major government oppression. And it didn't happen. I mean, there's been none of that to the best of my knowledge. We still have protests going on all the time about all sorts of things. So, look, there are people that like to get clicks, like to get views by screaming and yelling about government oppression and how the government's bringing in this stuff and it's going to have far-reaching consequences. And whilst that may be sometimes true, it's also, let's be honest, people do this kind of stuff for clicks and views.
Yes.
Like the media do it for eyeballs and earballs.
Perceived victims. Can I ask a question real quick? So is it true that before this law kicked in, if you went and you kick someone's ass, or assaulted someone, you get X punishment. But if you're kicking their ass because they're Jewish or because they're whatever different than you, and you make it quite clear the only reason you're beating the crap out of them is it now because of this law you can get extra harsher penalty, extra long time or more time in jail than before this law? Because we have that in America, and you're right, it does not deter people. People are disappointed, let's use that word, when they get arrested and then they find out they're being arrested, and the hate crime is put on top like a cherry, which changes the dynamic of the arrest, of their sentencing very much. So is this kind of a new thing for Australia, or am I reading too much into this law?
We've already had laws against hate crimes and things like that in place for a long time.
Okay,
it's an extension of that. They've just made it a little bit tougher.
Gotcha.
And focused in on some of these hate preacher type things. But we've had these sorts of laws. It's a broadening of the laws, not an introduction of new laws.
Because you and I have had this conversation. It's like, where's the line? It's like free speech. You have to get along with everybody. Free speech, you're abusing it and you're getting people hurt. So do we move the line? Do we do something to the line where it's a slippery slope? And the line does move when there's events like this. And so maybe as some time goes by, though, I don't know, but I just see this as the government doing the best they can with this horrific event. But then when I read the one sentence that said there was 1 day's worth of debate before this was passed, you got to
Yeah.
wonder how much it was truly discussed. Because, like you said, it was like, oh my God, this horrible thing, we have to do something. Boom. So you can say to the Australian people, look, we did something in response to that horrible thing.
Yeah, look, I don't envy envy any of the politicians at a time like this. It's a very difficult thing to have to balance. You've got a lot of pressure to do something and do something quickly, but then you do something quickly, you get criticized for doing something quickly.
Right.
If you don't do it quickly, you get criticized for not doing it quickly.
Yeah, you can't win.
It's a no-win situation.
Yeah.
That said, look, I do believe the Israel lobby is one of many lobby groups that's extremely powerful around the world.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a certain level of influence in Australia, as does the Christian lobby and, gun lobby and all the lobbies.
We need a lobby.
The lobbyists have a lobby.
Yeah.
It's the lobby group for lobbyists.
Right. Lobby squared.
And then
yeah.
And then those guys have a lobby group as well.
Everybody but us.
Look,
Go ahead.
and there is, we've talked about this over the years when we did our Israel show. Any criticism of Israel is called anti-Semitism,
Yes.
which is obviously ridiculous, but it's a very powerful tool that they've weaponized,
Oh, yes.
particularly since, World War II and the horrors of the genocide that was committed by the Germans against the Jewish people back then. And obviously, we need to push back against that. There needs to be space to make legitimate criticisms of the Israeli government and its treatment of people, not just in Palestine, Gaza, and the West Bank, but also their involvement in assassinations and trying to cause wars in Lebanon or Iran, which we'll get to in later on in this different segment.
Right.
There needs to be opportunity to be able to discuss and criticize legitimately their actions without being accused of anti-Semitism.
Absolutely.
And there is legitimate anger in large parts of the Australian community over Israel's treatment of Palestinians. Australians need to have the right to say that. The Australian government should be doing more about that. But, I think this is going to make it more difficult now for the Australian government to push back on Israel.
Yeah.
And Jared Kushner's plans for turning the Gaza Strip into Las Vegas. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
But bottom line is the attack was shocking for Australians. I mean, I know in America you're kind of a little bit blasé about your mass shootings because you have them every day. But our first one in 30 years, it was extremely shocking for us. And there was going to have to be some sort of an overreaction, maybe not an overreaction, but a strong reaction, on behalf of the Australian government, the state governments towards that.
Yeah.
Where the balance is up for debate. Is it too much? Is it too fast? Et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think it's as cataclysmic as some people online are making out. I don't think it's designed, at least from the wording of it, I don't think it's designed to completely shut down criticism of Israel. That said, because most people won't read the legislation and the media coverage of it is sort of murky, it's not like the media is saying, hey, listen, it's okay, we can still criticize Israel for legitimate issues.
They're not saying that.
People don't know where they stand, and people are justifiably confused about what this means. And none of us want the cops banging on our door at 2 a.m. and dragging us off.
That's here
because we criticised Israel. Yes, yeah.
Can I just say,
we'll get to that.
Yeah, as an American, or tragedy happened. Your government did something. Is it perfect? No. Will it be effective? Only time will tell. But they fucking did something. We've got healthcare crisis, gun violence every day. We got mental health. We got it all, baby. We are like the straight flush of all the world's problems, and our government doesn't do shit. So at the very least, hats off to your government for trying to do something. That's what a government is supposed to do. And I'm off my soapbox.
to whether or not it will be effective, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think
It won't change behavior.
you're going to.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
You're not going to prevent psychopaths from doing psychopathic things
Right.
because of legislation like this. I mean, you can shut down or make it more difficult for local hate groups and hate preachers and that kind of stuff, but you're not going to shut down Telegram and WhatsApp and other online communities. I mean, people are being radicalized, if you want to use that word, usually either online or in the cases of the father and son, the alleged terrorists, they went overseas, and it happened overseas. They went overseas and spent time in different camps.
Right.
So, and Australian legislation's not going to stop that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be that effective at stopping hatred and anger towards people of certain ethnic or racial origins.
Yeah. Still,
But you got to be seen to be doing something.
exactly.
Right? That's the point.
And it sends a message. Even if it doesn't do anything, it's still the right to, oh, hey, we're pointing out that that's bad and we would really like it to not happen again. That doesn't happen so much here in America. So again, a gesture was made and I applaud them for it. For trying.
Speaking of gestures, let's talk about the Prime Minister of Canada.
What a gesture,
Mark
huh?
Carney.
He's like, both middle fingers. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
So this is fascinating. I've had a lot of people ask me what I think about his speech at Davos. So for people who don't know, have been paying attention, Prime Minister of Canada, new Prime Minister, he's been in the job a year. Got up at Davos, World Economic Forum, before Trump did his rambling talk, and basically told the truth about the world order.
Yeah.
Not that was new information for us,
Right.
but the fact that you had a leader of a country say these things out loud
Yeah.
at a forum like that was new.
It gets attention.
And also the fact that this guy isn't some Chomsky reading lefty.
Right.
Mark Carney has got economics degrees from Harvard and Oxford. He had a career at Goldman Sachs. He was the governor of the Bank of Canada, the governor of the Bank of England. He's a Catholic.
Yeah. He's an adult.
He's pretty much,
Yeah.
well, he's a white, right-wing, white capitalist, conservative capitalist.
Yes.
Just as a snippet from his speech, he said, for decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we called the rules-based international order. We knew the story was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, but this fiction was useful. And he went on to say, this bargain no longer works. We're in the midst of a rupture, not a transition, is the line that's been quoted a lot.
Yeah.
Whenever people over the years talk, and Biden would talk about the rules-based order, blah, 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 you always hear the rules-based order. I've always said the rules-based order is a fairy tale that they tell us because
Yeah.
they want us to believe that exists. We know that it doesn't.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll read the whole section because it's worth reading. For decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we call the rules-based international order. We joined its institutions. We praised its principles. We benefited from its predictability. And because of that, we could pursue values-based foreign policies under its protection. We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful, and American hegemony, in particular, helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals, and we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality. This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We're in the midst of a rupture, not a transition.
Wow. Yeah.
And later on in the speech, towards the end, he says, we have a recognition of what's happening and a determination to act accordingly. We understand that this rupture calls for more than adaptation. It calls for honesty about the world as it is. We are taking the sign out of the window. We know the old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy. But we believe that from the fracture, we can build something bigger, better, stronger, more just.
Right.
This is the task of the middle powers, the countries that have the most to lose from a world of fortresses and the most to gain from genuine cooperation. The powerful have their power, but we have something too, the capacity to stop pretending, to name reality, to build our strength at home, and to act together.
Damn.
So,
Brilliant speech.
yeah, yes. For me, it was a little bit soft.
Yeah.
I think he could a little bit more forceful.
Right.
But as I said before, for the leader of a country and a right-wing conservative capitalist leader of a country to say these things out loud is astounding.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I just...
Because
Nope, sorry. Go ahead.
we know it was a fiction, and we know, and I've been so sick of hearing this fiction just trotted out, particularly by American political leaders over the years and business leaders. It's just, they know as well as we know that it's bullshit, but that it was part of the propaganda that there was a rules-based international order. The rules was you do what America says or else.
That's the rule. And also the golden rule. We have all the gold and the guns, so we make the rules.
Yeah.
And now that things are changing, we're not very happy. Can I just say, well, first of all, going back to something you said, he could have been more direct with what he said, but when you are the leader of a nation in a meeting, I mean, your little defiant speech is going to resound because you are defiant. He could have been a lot more bombastic, but he didn't need to be, I think. And again, not being bombastic is another way for him to differentiate himself from Trump. And and I'll just do this really quickly. First of all, go read the speech, everybody, because it's very short and it's very good. But basically, to me, this is what he said with my background. He said, look, we're pretty much going back to what life was before World War II. The big countries are going to do what big countries are going to do. The little ones are going to get slapped around unless they're smart enough to acknowledge what little power they have, get together, have a collective response economically, militarily, whatever. Is this a new mini NATO? I have no idea. But he's like, look, the rules-based, that was just bullshit. We all knew it was the Cold War. It was a narrative that we told ourselves. And as long as we all kept saying the same words, everything was fine. But now, ironically, you have the one country that was leading us against the evil be the ones who are now the bully. Trump wants to invade. He wants to attack. He wants to steal. He's basically getting away with, it's like his marriage. He's going to do anything the world lets him get away with. And Mark Carney is going, enough. If enough mid-sized countries get together, we can have some kind of power. We can do something, because the one thing that Mark Carney knows a lot better than I do is that countries like America, China, probably the UK, Russia, they produce too much. Their own people can't buy enough. We need outside markets. And if we keep pissing everybody off, we're only shooting ourselves in the foot. And I'm not even going to bring up tariffs. That's a whole nother shotgun to the foot. But the point is, when he gave this speech, it was like, it's becoming the Wild West again. Let's not lie to ourselves. Let's not lie to each other. We all need, those who care, those who can, need to get together and organize, because we're going to be taking on some assholes pretty soon. And Trump is just the latest asshole that we have to deal with. I don't know. I was very impressed with his measured analysis of what's going on in the world.
Yeah, and for people that are confused about the timeline and how this is all played out, let me sort of break it down for you. So,
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there were the dinosaurs, and there were the vampires,
big dinosaurs and little dinosaurs. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Remind me before we finish to talk to you about witches and broomsticks.
Deal.
So at the end after World War II, the global order had been destroyed. All of the European powers were economically and socially destroyed as a result of World War II.
Yeah.
Japan was destroyed.
Literally.
China is going through a civil war.
Yeah.
Russia, 20 million people dead. Soviet Union, 20 million people dead. I guess it's better to say that. So everyone was wrecked financially and socially, infrastructure-wise, except the United States in terms of the major economies, except for the United States.
Yeah.
So coming out of World War II, the United States was standing alone. It had the money. It still had shit ton of people, shit ton of weapons. It hadn't been attacked. It hadn't been crushed because it was protected by two oceans. And as a result of the luck of geography more than anything else, the United States emerged from World War II as the only really global power. And it was able to then use that power for the next 40 years
Right.
to basically get whatever it wanted through a combination of incentives and threats. It's the carrot and the stick model that it used.
Right.
And if you want to know more about that, how that worked, read John Perkins' book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. He worked for the World Bank for decades, and he explains how, America would work is they would go into a country where they wanted something, access to their natural resources or access to their markets, and say, give us what we want. And if you say no, let me tell you what's going to happen.
Right.
We're going to spread propaganda. We're going to spread propaganda about your government as being in league with the communists, and we're going to fund pro-propaganda for your opposition because they will give us what we want.
Exactly.
If that doesn't work, we're going to cause a revolution in your country to overthrow all your political parties and install whoever we want. We're going to find a general who's wants to retire in the Bahamas or in Florida, and we're just going to promise him a lot of money and a lot of support to overthrow your government, say that you're all corrupt and in league with the communists, and that's it. So there was a range of mechanisms that they had for getting what they wanted.
Yeah.
But they had to be a little bit cautious about that because the Soviet Union did have nuclear weapons. It was still a force to be reckoned with, even though economically, militarily, it was always playing catch up with the United States. It was still a thing. China wasn't a power they had to worry about.
Yeah.
In the early 1990s, the Soviet Union collapsed. America rushed in. Clinton sent advisors into Boris Yeltsin, and they tried to reshape Russia in as a pro-capitalist, open market kind of country where America could get its hands on all of Russia's goods and services. It didn't quite work out. Yeltsin was pliable and an alcoholic, but then Putin took over towards the end of the 90s, 2000.
Yeah.
And Putin was a different guy. Putin, way smarter than Yeltsin, way more stable, way more cunning and brutal. And he sort of stopped the American takeover of Russia and started to rebuild Russia and tried diplomacy. Both Gorbachev and Yeltsin and Putin all tried diplomacy to get the EU and NATO and the Americans to allow Russia to participate as a quasi-equal in some sort of big international order where everything could be discussed outside of the UN, an economic order, again, outside of the World Trade Organization as well, some sort of economic / military mutual defense kind of thing. The Americans kept them out of NATO, and they were kept out of variations of the EU that Gorbachev was trying to suggest.
Right.
And then America, starting in 96 under Clinton, started, after they'd promised at the end of the Cold War not to expand NATO, they started to expand NATO. And that meant taking former Soviet countries and putting them in NATO, which meant that those former Soviet countries were going to have basically NATO bases, military bases, and then missile bases. They were going to surround Russia with missile bases and cut off their access to ports and cut off their access to markets and take their markets where they had been doing business for centuries, cut them off and replace them with American or European suppliers or buyers.
Yeah.
And after attempts at negotiations to prevent this failed, Putin decided to clamp down militarily, places like Crimea and Georgia, and then eventually the Donbass and Ukraine. The West cried, "Oh no, the rules-based international order," and he was like, "Fuck you!"
Yeah.
Who do you think you're talking to, right? No, nobody believes in that except your general public because they believe your propaganda. He knew the truth. At the same time that Russia was starting to reassert itself because it felt like it was getting fucked up the arse with no lube, China started to become a power in the 2010s. So America has gone from a world where for 50 years, the end of World War II to the end of the millennium, it basically could do whatever the fuck it wanted to a certain degree. The Soviets, they had to keep an eye on, but basically they had to be a little bit surreptitious about it. They had to do back rooms and they had to put a pretty face on it. But basically, it wasn't like blatant like Trump is.
Right.
They had to be a little bit sort of, they had to spin it, but got away with whatever they wanted. What's happened in the last 20 years is Russia started to reassert itself. Putin's built Russia's economy back up where it can do this to a point.
Right.
I didn't put this in my notes. Let me pull it up from my Obsidian, though. Where the fuck is this? I've been reading this book by Emmanuel Todd, who's a French historian, academic, been around for many years, wrote a famous book in the mid-'80s where he predicted the fall of the Soviet Union based on looking at birth rates, successfully sort of predicted when it would collapse. But he wrote a book a year or so ago called The Decline of the West. And basically what he's talking about is the West's failure to understand Russia stems from a refusal to acknowledge that the Putin system is actually delivered for the average Russian. And he looks at a whole bunch of economic metrics to explain that poverty rate has dropped from 2000 to 2025. The poverty rate has dropped from 29% to 7%. Life expectancy rose from 65 to 73 years. Real disposable income indexed at 100 for the year 2000 was up to 260. Unemployment dropped from 10.6 to 2.4, an historic low. And so he talks about, the Putin system, how Putin has basically delivered for most Russians. You remember when Ukraine invasion happened, we were doing all these stories where the Western media was saying, we put sanctions or additional sanctions on Russia. Their whole economy is going to collapse. Putin's going to be toppled any day now.
Yeah.
Any day now.
They kept saying that.
They said that. 22, 23. It's like Tony and I on QOV are always laughing about the articles that we read in the media here about China's economy. China's economy is going to collapse.
Yeah.
And then a month later, it's China's posted record exports, 20% up from last year.
Now they're going to collapse.
And then a month later, it'll be, China's economy's in trouble. It's going to collapse.
Oh, my God.
They've been predicting China's collapse for the last 20 years, right?
Yeah. And people forget that stuff. Yeah.
It's just part of the narrative that, don't worry about China and Russia. They're going to collapse. They're not there. We don't have to worry about them. They don't know what they're doing. It's kind of a racist sort of thing about, the Chinese and the Russians don't know what they're doing. Look, they're barbarians, right?
Well, I think you'll find that the best criticism is a criticism laced with racism. I mean, it just sticks. It works. People want it to be true, and it's got a long shelf life. At least that's the way we do it in America. Can I react to two things you just said? I'm going to put them together. During post-World War II, the Americans, you're right, we had to a degree, pretend to be the good guys. We had to not be too much with the stick when we could use the carrot. Or another way to put that is to withdraw the carrot. The reason we had to play nice to a degree, even though we were damn sure going to get what we wanted, was because we had just defeated the world's biggest bullies. We had defeated Hitler, Mussolini, and Japan. So we couldn't exactly act like them. So we're like, okay, we're going to do all this shit. We're going to have an American empire. We're going to crush anybody who gets in our way, but it's the way you do it. We were the guys in the white hats and the suit and we, shiny city on a hill. However, so that's why we did what we did. But now, so when Trump comes along, Trump's like, fuck niceties. I don't care. I want everybody to kiss my ass. I want you to give me everything. Hey, why doesn't anybody like me? So again, is the average American being judged by Trump's actions? Sometimes not. But the point is, we are now literally, like Mark Carney said, we are literally now, he didn't say this literally, I'm sorry, but we are acting like that. We are going back to old powers, and we're just going to start being a bully. And for him to stand up again.
No. You've always been a bully.
Oh, yeah.
You've always been a bully.
He's blatant.
You're not going back to being a bully.
We're not going back to being
Trump's,
the BBB. Exactly.
He's not hiding it.
He's not.
Yeah.
And we would all appreciate. See, I've got stock in certain companies. I would appreciate it if he would hide that a little bit more, so these companies can keep doing well, and I get good returns and dividends. It's things like this that are fucking. No, I'm semi joking.
You should just follow QAV, man. Our portfolio in the US is like doing double market. It's up 100%.
Exactly. But the point is, there are a lot of reasons that people are pissed.
You're buying the wrong stocks.
I probably am. I'm buying podcast stocks. I feel really good about this. Your
own?
Yeah. I'm doubling down. Yeah. I'm doubling down. No,
right.
Just, you're right. He's acting like it's the 1930s and you can just push people around. I'm done. But so Mark got it in one.
All right, moving right along. Let's talk about ISIS, the American ISIS. Tony and I were having this debate this week on our QAV show. I think they should add an S to the end of ISIS, so it's just ISIS.
Right, just get it out
He says, he said Trump will just add an N to the beginning of it, so they're nice. Very nice people. They're doing a very nice job.
Some good people out there.
We're going to call them nice.
I like that.
So, obviously, since the last time we talked, you had the Renee Good murder, you had the Alex Pretty murder.
Right.
The most astounding thing, I guess, for both of them is the way the government and the right-wing media and the conservative subreddits tried to push this narrative that these people deserved it and brought it upon themselves.
Yeah.
And that they had it coming. And the Alex Pretty one, the way that they sort of tried to position him
as it was insane.
Going in there, armed to the teeth. Yeah. He's fucking Rambo. He went in there to kill ICE agents. He's a domestic terrorist.
Yeah. He's a nurse.
It's insane.
He's a nurse. Yeah.
It's insane.
Exactly. Especially when you have 14 cameras on it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, cameras everywhere, and it was absolutely insane. And of course, I think the initial investigation done by the Customs Border Patrol now has said that he wasn't brandishing a weapon at the time he was killed. So even they're calling bullshit on that story already. And Trump has seemed to pull back a little bit. He got rid of Bovino. Yeah. He's sort of sent in Tom Homan to try and provide a new face there. We'll get into Tom Homan in a minute. But
right,
the most amazing thing for me out of all of this, I'm not surprised by the violence. I'm not surprised by the Trump administration trying to push a bullshit narrative.
Yeah.
The most surprising thing is how quickly I saw conservative subreddits talking about the fact that Alex Pretty had a gun as being a bad thing. For the last 20 years, we've become so used to
guns.
The conservatives and the MAGAs in more recent times talking about how there was their God-given right to carry a gun everywhere at all time and how you needed to have a gun
God had a Glock.
In order to push back against a corrupt government and corrupt governments. Now, all of a sudden, on a fucking heartbeat.
Yeah.
In the blink of an eye,
right.
They're going, well, he had a gun. Trump said he had a gun and 2 magazines. I don't like that. That's not good.
Yeah. No,
Like,
only the cops should have done. Yeah. So let me ask you this: Are they not?
and he gets away, and they get away with it. They get away with completely doing a 180 on, like, if there are two things the Conservatives have built their entire fucking platform on in the last 20 years,
Right.
it's abortion is evil
Yeah.
and the right to bear arms.
kill people.
They threw
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
one of those in a fucking heartbeat.
Exactly. Well, actually, if you think about it, they threw out the abortion one because they're trying to do everything they can to get white people to stop having abortions. But that's a whole different subject. Yeah. So does that mean that they're not principled, or they probably are principled to the degree as far as the Second Amendment, and they'll just say anything to avoid responsibility, blame, or anything that will weaken their argument? I mean, you're right. They're absolutely all over the place. Everybody else can see it. I don't think they can because they don't want to.
I don't think any of these people, and I include the Democrats in this, are principled really when it comes to justifying the behaviors of their team. It's this, the problematic thing in America is this red team, blue team mentality that has developed. And, you know, during the last presidential election, you know, I was having people send me angry emails because I suggested that Biden was non-compos mentis and wasn't fit to be president.
Right.
People were just absolutely in denial. Democrats absolutely in denial over that. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's brilliant.
He's just slowing
You're just
down.
pushing.
Yeah.
You're pushing the Trump MAGA narrative.
Right.
You know, you're a Trump lover. You're a Trump supporter. You talk about Hunter Biden and the dirty dealings that he was doing behind the scenes in Ukraine, and you're just pushing Trump, MAGA,
Yes.
Putin. You're the useful idiot pushing a Putin narrative.
You're a dupe.
You know, Hunter Biden's laptop. Oh, that's just Russian narrative. You know, it's like they all just fucking take the talking points that are given to them and run with it with no critical thinking.
Yeah.
No attempt at self-awareness, no process for recognizing the bullshit from their own side.
Yeah.
And if you can't even call out the bullshit from your own team, like, why should we listen to you when you're criticizing the other team? Like, you have to be able to call out the bullshit at home first, right? Keep your own side of the fence clean.
Right. Can I just, again, I wish we could play music because who was Don Henley, the song Garden of Allah, the line where the devil says, there's no truth, there is no right, there is only winning, there is only opportunity. And it's kind of
Charlie Sheen.
Oh, that
Did you write that song?
Oh, no. He could have written a song. But the point is, you're right. I mean, it's so divided. Our entire culture is you're either with us or against this. There's no in between. There's no common ground. There's no reaching across the aisle. And I will do or say or lie or anything to make my side look good and your side look bad. The truth got left back there a long fucking time ago. And it's not going to change anytime soon. But you're right. This is absolutely insane. So here's my question to you. So you've got all this stuff going on. You've got Trump backing down. He truly is Trump Taco or whatever the Taco Trump, whatever the phrase is. Would this be happening? Would he be backing down if it was the last year of his presidency versus say, well, I don't know, midterms are 8 months away. I mean, he's got to be going, yeah, we got to start pulling this thing back as these midterms are coming up and we're about to get shellacked. And he knows what's probably going to happen if the Democrats take the House.
Yeah, so his tacoing on this is interesting. I mean, he hasn't tacoed completely, but I think there's a few things going on whenever Trump tacos on stuff like this. Usually I think he's doing it like with the tariff stuff.
Right.
It's usually because business leaders that he knows are important to his survival politically give him some pushback.
Yeah.
And we did start to see a few tech leaders since the murder of Alex Preddy come out and gently say, maybe this has gone too far, we need to de-escalate.
Right.
No one's really coming out and pushing back side that I've heard of against Trump on this kind of stuff. But there is, like, what we see publicly is some gentle stuff. What's being said behind the scenes might be a bit harder. But I think you're right in terms of the midterms. And the question in my mind is, what is he going to do now? What's the plan about the midterms?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, as we've talked about since the beginning of his second term, he can't afford for the midterms to go ahead as normal because there is a very high chance that he'll lose one or both, the House or the Senate.
Right.
So, and if he loses either of those, it's
over.
You know,
he can't.
Well,
pass.
it's a very difficult situation.
Right. He can't pass what he wants to pass. Yeah.
So the question is, what do you do about that? Like, he's been fighting the idea of the Insurrection Act for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, the Insurrection Act doesn't enable him to postpone or cancel elections. Only Congress can do that, but he does control Congress, so there's a chance he could get them to, go along with that.
Yeah.
I think if it was me and I was in his shoes and one of his strategic advisors, if I was Stephen Miller,
right.
What I would be trying to do is you don't have to cancel the elections. Mm-hmm. What you do need to do is make it difficult for people to turn out to vote.
Right. The South's really good at that. Sorry, go ahead.
In a couple of key swing states. Mm-hmm. You don't need to do it everywhere. You just need a couple of places that might swing red to blue or that typically, go blue, but it's borderline. You need to make it difficult for Democrats to vote in those districts.
Right.
So that is where you start to roll out ICE or something like that to make it, scary for people to roll out.
Yeah.
You don't want to push for an all-out civil war necessarily before the midterms. And I keep reminding people, there was no civil war in Nazi Germany or in fascist Italy until the very end of the war, like I think 43, 44. They started when the council of the fascists, the Grand Council, decided to get rid of El Duce and his
43.
people and started to fight back, and the Nazis came in to support Mussolini and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, he'd had 20 years before that without a civil war. Hitler didn't have a civil war.
Right.
Unless you look at the things like the Night of the Long Knives, he got in early and took out everybody who could potentially be a threat to his domination of the Nazi Party.
Right. You got to wonder, because you've already got Republican people in the Senate and the House. Some of them are retiring. Some of them are not going to run. So that's another challenge. I mean, overall, I think you could easily argue Trump is becoming more unpopular as he goes on. If he's going to do something, he needs to do it sooner rather than later before his base or more of his base leaves him. I don't know. But as far as the election goes, I mean, you've got Democrats highly motivated to show up. You've got Republicans far less motivated to show up to some degree, but you've got more and more people who are claiming to be independents. Now, I did a little bit of digging, and during the last election, Trump got more Latino votes than expected, and he got a lot of the independent votes more than expected, 2% more than the Democrats got, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. This could go around. You've got to think the Latinos are going, fuck you, buddy. And the independents certainly aren't excited by what they're seeing in the news today. So again, unless he does something, I don't know if it's going to be a tidal wave. I think the House, the Democrats got 40 seats the last time during the midterms when he was president. I don't think it's going to be that big this time, but he's got to do something. And of course, that scares the shit out of a lot of people because Trump will do anything he can get away with, legal or otherwise.
Yeah. I know nobody knows more about U.S. history than you, Ray. How many times has the Insurrection Act been invoked in U.S. history?
Oh, that's a really good one. I'm going to hit you with completely pulled out of my anus 2. I have no idea. Or 0, 20. I have no idea. I really don't know. I know I've let you down. I normally have the answer to everything, and I apologize for that.
No, you haven't let me down at all. That's entirely what I expected. The act has been invoked about 30 times in U.S. history. Do you want to guess when the last one was?
It wasn't January 6th, was it? Because there was nothing to see there, people. Those were just independent-minded people who loved their country. No,
who didn't have guns. Oh, wait. No, they all had guns.
Right.
It's okay when you challenge law enforcement officers with a gun.
Yeah, that's okay.
If you're at the Capitol building.
But if you do it.
But not if you're on the street.
Yeah. No, I don't know. When was the last time it was invoked?
I believe it was May 1992 by President George H.W. Bush.
What was going on?
As a response to the Los Angeles riots following the acquittal of the LAPD officers for the beating of Rodney King.
Right. Shit.
That occurred at the specific request of California Governor Pete Wilson, who sought federal military assistance to restore order after the local law enforcement had been overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So it's been 33 years, which is the longest gap, the longest time the US has gone without an official invocation of the act.
Good for us.
Before that,
right.
I think the last time the act was invoked without a governor's consent was Lyndon B. Johnson, when he federalized the Alabama National Guard to protect civil rights marches from Selma to Montgomery after the state authorities failed to do so.
So sometimes used for good things. Then there's what Trump may do. So, but again, since it's been 33 years, just like you pointed out, theoretically, he's going to have to come up with a really good excuse. There's a bunch of cheating going on. The 2020 elections, we're not going to have that again. I'm going to make damn sure the right person wins, or some shit along those lines.
Whatever it is, it wouldn't surprise me. But the point is going to be how he prevents. I mean, there's also the gerrymandering that's going on.
Right.
For the midterms.
How's
I think
that going?
both sides are.
Yeah.
I think both sides are trying to balance each other out on that.
Yeah.
But he has to do something. I mean, if he doesn't, it's going to be it's going to be a disaster for him. And he's been very open about that, saying they'll impeach us.
No, they'll impeach me.
They get back in. So.
Me. And none of you want that. I mean, I remember he goes, they'll impeach me. But let's break it down here. Trump is going to be okay, because even if he gets impeached and he gets kicked out of office, he can live off of the money that Melania made from her new movie. Which one brings me to the question: how many times have you seen Melania? And be honest. No.
The movie? The person?
No, the movie just came out.
How many times have I seen it?
Yeah. Jeff Bezos gave away.
I don't think
20 million. 40 million.
Where did it come out?
It's just out now. I have no idea.
Like out where? The cinema?
I guess.
Netflix?
I guess. I'm too.
I saw Alex Honnold climbing the tower in Taipei last week. That was fucking bonkers.
Yeah. Was he attached to a safety harness? I have no idea.
No.
Jesus.
No.
Christ.
No ropes.
Am I the only
101-story hotel he climbed, or office building, maybe, with no fucking... And then he gets to the top, which is a little dome.
Yeah.
And he just stands on it and takes a selfie.
I can do that with Photoshop. Come on, guy. Or at least dress as Spider-Man. We should probably...
It was fucking... It was crazy. It was bonkers.
We should move on.
Anyway. Tom Homan,
yes,
the guy that is the border czar,
sure,
that I'd never heard of before. Had you heard of him before this?
No reason to. No.
If you were working for the FBI, you would have, because in 2024, he was recorded accepting a bag with $50,000 cash from undercover FBI agents.
That's right. How many years in jail did he? No?
Carry the 7. None. After Trump got in, the Department of Justice closed the investigation, said there was insufficient evidence that he was accepting a bribe. Look, yes, we have him caught on camera saying that he was accepting $50,000 in cash as a bribe, but that really...
I mean, it depends.
Who hasn't
done
that?
I would. The truth is like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. And I just don't. Oh, there were 3 federal agents there who all can back this up. Again, I don't see what you're. He's fine. Let him go. So now he's the one who's going to calm this situation down. Is that what you're telling me?
Supposedly, now this guy isn't a Trump appointee. He was an Obama appointee.
Okay.
He goes way back, and Obama presented him with some sort of award for job well done, I think, during his administration.
Right.
As a border, whatever.
Yeah.
Protecting the border.
Border czar?
And another lifelong Catholic and an author of Project 2025.
Oh.
He was part of the Heritage Foundation, the right-wing think tank, and was one of the authors of Project 2025, sort of the architect in large part of the whole deportation,
Right.
regime over there. So no, if you think this guy is the adult in the room, he's the conservative Catholic right-wing, and so many Catholics popping up in the news these days.
Okay.
Right-wing think tank,
Yeah.
dude. I have been reading quite a bit about right-wing think tanks lately too.
Right.
Have you ever heard of the Atlas Network?
No, but I like that name. It sounds like they're propping something up. Tell me more.
The Atlas Network's been around for a long time.
Right.
It describes itself as a non-profit that aims to secure the right to economic and personal freedom for all individuals.
Who wouldn't love that? Sorry, go ahead.
It's a global network of think tanks, right-wing think tanks. It started with one. There was a guy called Anthony Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
He was the founder of the Atlas Network, born into a wealthy mining family, served in the Royal Air Force in World War II. According to legend, he watched his brother plummet to death after his plane was shot down. And he was going to go into politics. He was shocked that the British elected the Labour Party after World War II, or towards the end of World War II.
Right.
And decided, he wanted to run for politics. And he had a conversation with the Austrian economist Friedrich Hayek,
Right.
who blames socialism for all of society's ills. And when Fisher was considering running for office in the 1950s, the early 1950s, Hayek told him not to go into politics, but to engage in the war of ideas by targeting the intellectual class. In the early 1950s, conservatives were struggling around the world, partly as a result of, World War II and the Great Depression and the rise of socialism. And they decided they needed a long-term strategy for changing mindsets around the world. Mm-hmm. So Fisher started something called the Institute of Economic Affairs in 1955, which got a lot of financial support from Shell, Royal Dutch Shell, as they were back then. BP then followed suit. And they would get these professors to write short, digestible articles around things like currency conversion, things that were fairly technical to non-economists, and they would get them widely spread, get them into the media,
Right.
get people thinking about right-wing ideas. Then they would get scholars to write books that promoted their right-wing ideas, and then these wealthy donors would buy thousands and thousands of copies and get them into schools and universities.
Jesus.
It was a long-term strategy to change the way that people think. And in my book, The Psychopath Epidemic, I did a section on front groups and lobby groups and how they work. I actually talked about an Australian organisation that predates Fisher's organisation. We have a thing called the Institute of Public Affairs, the IPA. They were founded here in 1943 by a guy called G.J. Coles, who was the founder of one of Australia's largest retailers, Coles Supermarkets. We have really 2 supermarket chains here. That's it. It's a duopoly. We have Coles and we have Woolworths.
Gotcha.
And he was the founder of Coles. Mm-hmm. And Tony Kynaston used to work for Coles.
Oh, wow.
But co-wrote the book with me or funded the book, participated in the book,
Sure.
helped edit the book. whatever, published the book. That's what he did. No, I had a publisher. But yeah, I don't know what Tony's role was. It was a combination of things, financing and support.
Emotional
and,
support.
intellectual input.
Yeah.
Intellectual support as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tony's worked for cost. But yeah, so he created that. It's a very active right-wing think tank in Australia, corporate-funded think tank, and a lot of mining guys end up on the board of it. But so the way that these think tanks have worked for 75 years or so, 80 years now, is they get funded by big corporations. They take that money and they fund right-wing academics and professors to write articles that they then get distributed into schools and universities and try and change the way that people think about how the world should be run. They break these ideas down into things that can be sold to the general public. You don't like taxes. You hate pay. Wouldn't you rather not pay taxes, Ray?
Yeah.
Taxes are bad,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
You would rather keep that money. Couldn't you spend that money better than some
You're damn
government
right.
in Washington, Ray? Wouldn't you? You're a smart guy, Ray. You know how to spend that money better than who gets to spend your money in the government. Why does the government deserve to take that money? You know they're taking it by force, right?
You're damn right.
Yeah, the government.
Yeah.
If you don't pay your taxes, what happens to you? You go to jail. That
Jail,
means
I get raped.
it's violent. It's
Yes.
an act of violence. They're
Exactly.
stealing
Yes.
your taxes from you at the point of a gun, Ray. That's not right.
No,
You shouldn't
no.
be paying taxes.
You should run for office. I'd vote for you. Or if you could
Are
recommend
you angry
someone.
now, Ray?
I am so angry.
You should be
'cause-
angry about paying
'cause
taxes.
I'm not getting my fucking
What did you ask? Who pays for the police? Don't ask questions, Ray. Don't get bogged down in lefty socialist ideas
going the
about,
wrong way.
hey, we all
Wrong-
live in a society and we need to pay for things.
Focus on my words.
That's just this.
Yeah.
That's just socialists trying to confuse you with logic and book learning,
I'm
Ray. Don't
not
think
gonna
about that.
fall
Just
for
be
logic.
angry.
No.
Be angry about the fact that you're paying taxes, Ray.
How's that? No logic in here. I can tell you that right now, buddy. None whatsoever. Woo!
Hey, let's move on
Please.
to Iran.
Please. What is
there
going
was
on?
just these there's been these protests going on in Iran over the last month or so that were crushed, predictably,
Yes.
violently by the regime, the fundamentalist regime of the Ayatollah Khamenei over there. I have good, very, very close friends that are Iranian/Persian that live here, but very closely connected to friends and family back home and feeling all this
Right.
very deeply, as you can imagine. And we talk about this a lot. Look, so Trump is sort of talking about sending in the Armada and overthrowing the regime there. You know, he's collecting presidencies. He's now the president of Venezuela. I think he wants to be the president of Iran as well.
Sure.
President of Greenland, maybe the president of Canada, Mexico, Colombia, maybe Australia's on the list too. We'll see how it
I
goes.
hope it's Cuba. I'd like to
President of Gaza,
Yeah.
Cuba. Yeah, that's probably on the list as well.
Probably go ahead. Yeah.
So then were protests, and look, here's a couple of things that I believe to be factual. The regime over there is very unpopular with the people of Iran.
Yes.
People of Iran are obviously very highly educated, very, very old culture, very proud people, as you can imagine, and most of them are not Muslims. Most of them are certainly not fundamentalist Shia Muslims, but they've been ruled by a fundamentalist Shia regime for the last, whatever it is now, 45, 46 years. Since the revolution in 1979. And, you know, you and I have done lots of shows about the history of Iran and the overthrow of the Mossadegh government in the early 1950s by the CIA, and how that in part led to the revolution in 1979 and the mistrust between the Iranian government and the Americans.
Right.
The funny thing is, my Persian friends want the CIA to overthrow the government of Iran. They want the Americans to get involved, and they believe that a lot of people in Iran want the same thing. They don't care how the current regime gets overthrown. They just want it overthrown.
Exactly.
It's a bit like the Roman strategy when they assassinated Julius Caesar. We're like, let's not worry about thinking about step two. Step one,
step
get
one
rid of
is all.
Caesar. Step two,
Yeah.
we'll worry about that.
Tomorrow will take care of
Yeah.
itself. Yeah.
Anything would be better than Caesar. Augustus who? No, I never heard of him.
Right.
But we do know, John Mearsheimer has been doing a lot of interviews about this. There is clear evidence that the protests / riots, violent riots that happened were supported by / engineered to some degree / involved Mossad and CIA agents.
Sure.
How do we know that? Well, because on January 2nd, 2026, Mike Pompeo tweeted, "Happy New Year to every Iranian in the streets, also to every Mossad agent walking beside them."
Wow. Just put it out there, why don't you? Yeah. And we've done it
Yeah.
before. We've done it dozens of times in dozens of countries around the world since the 50s. This should not be shocking to Americans, but I'm sure it is.
An Israeli minister said, "When we struck Iran last year, we were on their territory and knew how to prepare the ground for the attack. I can assure you that our people are working there right now."
Wow. That's cojones. Just come out and admit it. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so they're not even trying to keep it secret. John Mearsheimer said, to be more specific, there is clear evidence that Mossad agents were on the ground in Iran, and surely there were CIA operatives working alongside them.
Yeah.
So they're sort of being pretty clear about all of this. When the protests were beginning in late December, Mossad sent a message in Farsi to Iranians saying, "Go out together into the streets. The time has come. We are with you, not only from a distance and verbally, we are with you in the field."
Damn. Motivating these people. Yeah.
So they motivated them to go out there and protest and try and overthrow the government. Estimates range between 50,000 and 30,000 people were killed as a result. And what happened? Nothing so far. Has America or Israel stepped in to provide support? No.
To the injured.
Yet again, yeah, they just let the people go and get killed, and they've done nothing so far to support them. They promised to support them, but they haven't supported them. And the reason I mention this is Mearsheimer's one of several people that has an interesting perspective on this. That is that Israel doesn't want the US to get involved militarily.
Really?
Israel, yeah. So you remember in June of 2025, there was a series of missile strikes that happened. There was the 12-day war or whatever it was over there where they were firing missiles at each other.
Yes.
Taking out nuclear reactors and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then Iran started shooting ballistic missiles at Israel. And Israel's defense mechanisms took out 90% of them, but the 10% that got through
Right.
and caused some deaths in Israel. But they could have shot a lot more. Iran had the capability of shooting a lot more missiles into Israel, and Israel was starting to run out of defensive capability.
Oh, wow.
So basically, they did a diplomatic deal with Iran to call an end to the hostilities for the foreseeable future. The way it got positioned in the West is that basically Iran cried uncle and begged Israel and the US to stop attacking them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they did want an end to the attacks as well. But the other side of the story that we don't tend to hear is that it was Israel that actually asked the US to negotiate a peace settlement, a treaty to stop the conflict, because it turned out what they thought was their iron dome wasn't that iron. There's lots of holes in the iron.
Maybe bronze, but not iron. We'll see. We'll see. It could have been stronger. I don't want to derail your conversation, but I'll bring this up later if I need to. But the one people who aren't on board with whatever happens in Iran are the American voters. Couldn't give a shit if we help those people who are being killed by their own government. We don't care. We're voting our pocketbooks. We don't care about Greenland. We don't care about Venezuela. We're still waiting for the grocery prices to come down, which of course they're not going to. Prescription healthcare, which of course is not going to. So again, America, the American government can do what it wants, but if they're expecting anything like full-throated support from the average person, they're not going to get it. So I just wonder why. Again, I just wonder why Trump keeps doing these things when clearly nobody cares. There's no one telling him inside the White House, like, dude, you are not impressing anybody, any future voter that you may have. And again, I just find the whole thing, it's like he's completely out of touch with what's going on, but he probably doesn't care in the first place. So what do I know?
Part of the story of the recent protests was Elon Musk provided Starlink to Mossad and the CIA to enable coordination and communication amongst the Iranian protesters. But Iran was able to jam Starlink, which I think is what caused US and Israel to pull back from the current conflict over there.
Gotcha.
Using apparently Chinese technology and Russian hardware. There's a thing I got from JFeed, a Jewish pro-Israel news site. China's kill switch just to raise the Iranian resistance. Breaking the myth of unblockable satellite internet, Tehran utilizes synchronized ground jammers to blind 40,000 terminals, effectively turning the country into a laboratory for Beijing's future war over Taiwan. Following reports that up to 80% of Starlink terminals in Iran have gone offline, new details have emerged revealing that the shutdown was executed using advanced Chinese technology and Russian hardware. The result is the near total paralysis of approximately 40,000 Starlink terminals that have been smuggled into the country to bypass the regime's internet blackout. Prior to these events, the prevailing consensus in the defense community was that low Earth orbit satellite constellations like Starlink were nearly impossible to jam effectively. Their defense relied on the satellite's constant rapid movement and their ability to frequency hop to avoid static interference. The blackout in Iran has shattered this assumption. While SpaceX was previously able to counter Russian jamming in Ukraine through rapid software updates, the situation in Iran presents a different challenge. There's a Israeli security commentator, Ehud Yari, who said, we do not see clear cracks in the Iranian regime's mechanisms in the government nor in its two armies. So, basically what seems to have happened is the US and Israel made another attempt in Iran, and the Iranians were able to shut it down again with the support of China and Russia. So it's a proxy war going on over there. The US and Israel on one side, China and Russia on the other side. And so far, the Iranians seem to be winning.
Yeah, I mean, because this could easily get very bad very quickly, and then the entire region is unstabilized, oil prices, whatever, shipping, because of the Gulf there that Iran, it's right there on their fucking border. They can shut down shipping of, is it like 85% of the oil goes through there? So again, it's just insane. You need more adults in the room, but this would be the last. I get a feeling we're wrapping up, but this would be the last thing I say unless we do something else. Just imagine for a second, because this is the greatest test of what's going on to me. Just imagine one day before the elections last year, you went into a coma and you woke up today, and I caught you up on everything. We're going to take over Greenland by force. We took Venezuela. We're threatening Iran. What the fuck is going on? That would be a legitimate question. So how we got from where we were to here, it's pretty much just one answer. It's Trump, and he has no idea what he's doing.
And I have to point out, because you won't hear this mentioned in the media, that Israel's consistent attacks on Iran have all been illegal, violations of the United Nations Charter.
Yeah.
Iran is a member state of the United Nations and is therefore a sovereign state in the international order. If Israel has problems with Iran, there are lots of mechanisms mandated by international law that permit Israel to bring complaints against Iran. But the constant attacks, missile attacks that the US and Israel have been doing against Iran are all illegal. Now, international law and legality is a source of constant debates. Obviously, the US invaded Afghanistan, and that was considered illegal under international law as well.
Yeah.
And there's this existential threat exception. They say, well, waiting for a nuclear-armed state to attack first. There's a suicide pact, et cetera, et cetera. The state of war argument, because they've been in a state of armed conflict through proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas for years.
Yes.
This isn't a new war. It's an extension or an escalation of an existing one. But when Russia uses existential threat to stop NATO bases from being installed in Ukraine,
Evil.
That's considered evil. When Israel does it in Iran, that's considered justifiable. This gets back to the beginning of the show. Like, the rules-based international order is bullshit. It's a fiction, as Mark Carney said.
Exactly. It's a game.
But the Iran thing is interesting. Like, there's no denying that the majority of Iranians would love to see the regime gone.
Yeah.
But the questions now are, how are they going to replace it? Looks like the people in Iran don't have the ability to replace it themselves. They don't have an oppositional movement because they haven't been allowed to build one for the last 45 years.
Yeah.
And the Americans and the Israelis that are trying to bring about regime change through a combination of sanctions and missile strikes and funding or supporting protests or riots, regime change is just not working for them, because Iran is being supported by China and Russia and is able to build relatively cheap ballistic missiles that can hit not only Israel, but as Iran has threatened, there's a lot of other places, American allies in the Middle East, that they can hit if they want to, which will cause massive problems for America's allies in that region. So, yeah, Trump has pulled back. He's now talking about having negotiations with Iran after promising to move in and invade and overthrow them, which he still might. He's apparently got an armada heading there, so knowing Trump, anything could happen next.
Right.
But they will, probably need to somehow do what they did in Venezuela, go in and take out the entire... the entire leadership, the IRGC. They need to take out the entire top level in one fell swoop. And I'm sure they probably could if they wanted to, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, but then again, if they do that, you have two questions. One, how many American lives are lost doing that, which we'll probably never know. And two, what happens in Iran then when it's headless? Then you've got what? Potential for civil war? I have no idea. But the point is, like you said a couple of minutes ago with the assassination of Caesar, if you're going to, first of all, international law, unofficial international law says if you break it, you just bought it, bitch, so you get to fix it. But again, you have to have a step two. You have to have the second part of what happens after the first part happens. And if they don't do that, then as crazy as Iran is right now, it could get a lot worse if it falls into civil war, if someone removes their leaders.
Yeah, there's a scholar called William Beeman that I discovered recently. He's been writing about Iran. He's the Professor Emeritus, Department of Anthropology at the University of Minnesota. He's been studying Iran and writing about Iran for decades. He posted something 12 days ago on the Iran subreddit. He says, because of my long involvement in research and writing on Iran, many people have asked for my views on the current situation. Here's a brief summary of my thoughts. One, nothing can be understood without noting that from the perspective of Iranians, the nation has been under siege from external powers for at least 200 years. Iranians see their situation through this filter continually. 2, there has been a massive generational shift in Iran since the revolution of 78, 79. The vast majority of the population has no memory of the revolution or of the Shah and his regime. 3, Iran is a modern country full of extremely well-educated, sophisticated people, which is interesting enough considering it's been ruled by a fundamentalist Islamic government for 45 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
The poverty level is lower than in the United States. The economic stresses in the country today largely fall on the middle class. Although Iran easily supplies everything necessary for life in its internal economy, food, building materials, electronics, clothing, household supplies, most medicines, imported goods have become unattainable for many people. And because of hyperinflation and unexchangeability of the Iranian rial, even basic necessities tied to the internal economy are now becoming unaffordable. 4, the majority of the population is now non-religious, and Iranian citizens are aware of their disadvantages compared to the rest of the world in terms of human rights. 5, for the above reasons, the current religiously dominant regime is in severe trouble. Protests have been ongoing for decades, but have thus far been repressed. However, eventually this current government will fall. It has proven inflexible, unresponsive to public demands, and repressive when challenged. 6, the question then is how and in what manner a new government will come to power. There are several scenarios. A, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, the paramilitary force established at the time of the revolution to protect the revolution, could take over. This group has the most to lose in a governmental coup if it does not maintain power. They are corrupt and are the wealthiest segment of the ruling class, not the mullahs. B, some restoration of the monarchy under Reza Pahlavi. Although this could happen, Reza has no organised forces in Iran and is pinning his hopes on being installed by the United States and Israel. The problem with this is that it renews the old scenario of external powers governing and interfering in Iranian politics. Reza's father was installed through a CIA coup in 1952, and all Iranians know this. C, some kind of resistance force not presently active could come to power. There is a long-standing resistance, the Mujahideen-e-Khalq, MEK, currently stationed in Albania. They've received support from US Republicans over the years, but they are small, tired, and also truly despised in Iran. 7, what is certain in my thinking is that any governmental change that is enacted or organised by the United States or Israel might initially succeed, but will ultimately fail because the taint of the past colonialist control of the country, which is truly despised by all Iranian people. 8, so I do predict change, but I'm less sanguine about the ultimate success of any new revolution in creating a stable, long-lasting democratic government. It is what Iranians want, but the means of reaching it are elusive and uncertain.
Sounds like he nailed it.
There you go.
Yeah. A realistic assessment.
Well, I sent it to my Iranian friend, and he said, I disagree with some of that. I think he's out of touch with what's really going on over there. So there you go. But we will see how it plays out. But either way, it's very, very messy over there, and I think it will continue to be messy for quite some time. But best of luck to all Iranians in getting a new government that is the government they deserve. And good luck to Americans too on that as well.
Thank you. I was going to add
which government will fall first, the Americans or the Iranians?
Come on. Yeah.
And that's the bullshit filter for January 2026. Stay safe, everybody.